My fellow Americans, my intelligent friends, fear is what we feel when our basic human rights, life, liberty, and property, are threatened. Every human being wants to live in a world without fear. In fact, according to the Declaration of Independence, government was invented to protect our individual rights, so we can live without fear. Now, if you've watched television lately, you know that Americans are weak and afraid. Our way of life is under attack, and the whole world is taking advantage of us. Terrorists and criminal gangs are taking over our cities, and nations who were once our allies and trading partners can no longer be trusted. The only way to escape this chaos is to... Stay tuned, we'll be right back after a very long commercial break. People, turn off your television, take a deep breath, and look at the world around you. That's right. It's not so bad after all. They're lying to you. Commercial media makes money by selling commercials. More viewers means more money. So, commercial media profits from your fear. I don't watch television. That's why I'm unafraid. Politicians use fear in exactly the same way, and exactly for the same reasons. Politicians exaggerate threats to our basic rights and liberties, then promise to protect us if we vote for them, and after adding trillions of dollars to the national debt, our nation is basically the same. Poorer, of course, but no safer. So when you remember that to secure those rights, governments are instituted among men, Declaration of Independence, remember? You can see how completely perverted it is that our government, whose sole function is to protect our rights, is using our human rights and liberties as hostages against us. The truth is actually worse than that. Our government is wholly responsible for many of the dangers from which they claim to protect us. Here's a few examples. The attacks of September 11th were truly horrific, but they were simply a response to American military aggression in the Middle East. We've been killing Muslim civilians on their own land for decades, but now we can justify it by calling them all potential terrorists. This is already a violation of their human rights, but now our government wants to keep Muslims out of the country altogether, using our fear as justification. Our government created the conflict. We have violated their rights first. How is it then that our government tells us the only way we can protect our rights is to violate their rights some more? As humans, American citizens do not have the authority to violate the rights of others. Therefore, our government lacks that authority as well. We don't need protection from terrorists. We need our government to stop killing people in the Middle East. How can we trust our government to protect our human rights when our government violates the rights of others? Police officers in this country have learned that it's okay to kill unarmed African Americans. You just have to claim, "I was afraid for my own safety," and then you can shoot as many as you wish. This is just the terrorism argument all over again. If African Americans seem poor, less educated, or more prone to crime, it's because we planned it that way. We kidnapped them, enslaved them for hundreds of years, then set them free, with no land, no money, no education, and to this day have made no serious attempts at establishing equality for all. We don't need protection from African Americans. We need to stop blaming them for the situation we put them in. Shooting them, putting them in jail, refusing to lend them money are continued denials of basic human rights which they have never been granted. One more time, how can we trust our government to protect our human rights when our government violates the rights of other humans? The first illegal immigrants to this continent came on the Mayflower. If all humans were created equal, then there is no such thing as an illegal immigrant. If you believe in zero tolerance at the border, then each and every American should self-deport back to wherever we came from. It is illogical that the same nation which declared all men are created equal would refuse any immigration request whatsoever. It is preposterous to declare crossing the border a crime when you have closed the ports of entry to certain classes of people, and separating families as punishment for a crime which was itself invented solely to torment those who have no one else to help them is such a heinous and despicable act. The United States of America now has no standing to criticize any nation on the face of the earth for human rights violations. Our government has offended humanity and disgraced every American. We don't need protection from immigrants. We need to stop financing the corrupt governments which refuse to protect the human rights of their own citizens. We become stronger when we help others. We emasculate ourselves when we turn them away. I am not afraid of terrorists, African Americans, Muslims, or immigrants. I meet people every day who don't act like me, talk like me, or look like me, and that's what makes them interesting. If you respect the rights of other humans, you have nothing to fear. The only thing that I and you should be very afraid of is when our government asks our permission to violate the rights of other humans and fabricates fear to coerce us into submission. Government was invented to protect human rights and liberty. Fear occurs when those rights are threatened. Under no circumstances should fear be caused by government. And only when no human fears the government of the United States of America can we all be unafraid. My name is Stephen A. Ritchie. Thank you very much.